A teleshopping firm's work schedule is from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Its sales staff requirements vary per hour and its minimum requisites are the following. From 9 to 10, the minimum number of sub-assistants needed is 10, from 10 to 11 is 12, and so on. The firm can have no more than 12 full-time employees working from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. with 1 hour for lunch. Half of them have lunch from 11 a.m. to noon, and the other half from noon to 1 p.m. Part-time employees work 4 hours straight and can start their workday at any hour between 9 a.m. and 1 p.m. and are not entitled to a break. As per the firm's policy, the number of part-time workers cannot be more than 50% of the total number of workers. Part-time employees earn €8 per hour, whereas those who work full-time earn €50 per day. Formulate a problem to plan the optimal hiring with the least personnel expenses. So we start with the decision variables. We must decide how many workers should the firm employ, but we must specify how many full-time workers and how many part-time workers, and on the other hand we need to specify the hours of working because we have to concrete the minimum number of employees working at any time. So the decision variables will be X will be the number of full-time workers to employ every day. X1 will be the number of part-time workers starting at AM, that is to say they work from 9 to 13 hours. X2 start at 10 AM, they work from 10 to 2 PM. X3 start at 11, X4 start at 12, and X5 start at 1 p.m. We cannot continue with the times because the last turn is this one, those who start at 1 and finish at 5 p.m. The objective of this situation is to minimize the personnel expenses, which is minimize the function. Let's see, those who work full-time earn €50 per day, so the expenses will be 50 times the number of full-time employees plus the cost to pay part-time workers. Part-time workers earn €8 per hour. As they work 4 hours per day, the cost of each one will be €32, multiplied by the total number of part-time employees, which is X1 plus X2 plus X3, X4, and X5. Restrictions. The firm can have no more than 12 full-time employees working, so this is easy. X must be less or equal than 12. Now let's go with the table. Working from 9 to 10, we need at least 10 workers. This can be part-time workers or full-time workers. So the number of full-time workers, as they work from 9 to 5 p.m., plus the number of part-time workers starting at 9 must be greater or equal than 10. At least 12 workers working from 10 to 11. Who's working at this time? Full-time workers work at this time plus those part-time workers who started at 9 plus those part-time workers starting at 10. So this must be greater or equal than 12. At least 14 workers from 11 to 12. Now you must remember that half of the full-time employees have a break from 11 to noon, so only half of them work at this hour. Now, those who started at 9, part-time workers, plus X2 plus X3, which are those who start at 11, must be greater or equal than 14. From 12 to 1 p.m. we need 16 employees. Remember that the other half of the full-time employees have a break from noon to 1 p.m. So the half of the full-time employees plus X1, X2, X3 and those who start at noon must be greater or equal than 16. At least 18 workers from 1 to 2 p.m. There are no more breaks for full-time employees, so at this time all of them are working. Plus, be careful now because part-time employees who started at 9 finish their work at 1 p.m. so they don't work from 1 to 2. So only those who started at 10, those who started at 11, at 12, and those who started at 1 p.m. must be greater or equal than 18. At least 17 from 2 to 3, so full-time employees plus those who started at 11 because those who started at 10 have already finished, plus X4 plus X5 plus X6 greater or equal than 17. Sorry, there is a mistake here. There is no X6 because the last time to start work was at 1 p.m. So this is the right restriction. Finally, from 3 to 4 p.m. we need 15 employees, and from 4 to 5 we need at least 10 employees. Finally, part-time workers cannot be more than 50% of the total number of workers. Part-time workers is X1 plus X2, X3, X4 plus X5. I'm going to write this as the addition from I equal 1 to 5 of x. Y must be less or equal than 50% of the total number of workers, which is full-time workers plus part-time workers. Finally, x and xi must be greater or equal than 0, and integer numbers as they are number of employees, where I goes from 1 to 5. Therefore, this would be the final formulation.